Hey everyone, Maury Curtis Dunbar here at Painted Studio. Welcome back. It is a sunny spring day. It's about 80 degrees out. Sorry, I am turning down my iPad and loading my live up so I can see what's going on and I'll be able to keep stuff in frames. So yes, you can see there's many straps around me. It's hot today. I had a little jacket on, but I don't have one on now. Now, I haven't done any epoxy pouring for a couple months, so I thought maybe I'd come back. My hands are in the shape for it. We'll do a little epoxy pouring, do some fun shapes. I have all kinds of new molds, which will be harder for some of you to see, but we'll go through those. And we're going to do springy, fun colors too. So, and then we're going to talk about other things that you can put in epoxy. It'd be kind of a combination of stuff. So, first thing I'm going to do, take off my watch. I can't tell you how many times I have epoxied my watch. Now, we have some special studio. Hey, Barb, nice to see you here. We have some special studio assistants in here, the four-legged kind. You've met Max before, but I think I'll just see this little shape right there, that little head. That's Remy. That's my Remy. Hi, baby. Hi, good boy. Yes. He's a little bit of a shy baby and likes to hide behind underneath blankets, so he has a little funny dog bed there that he can just wrap himself up in. But he's over on my my desk chair. Hey. No barking. So the other thing that usually happens is I have to turn his chair, the chair that he likes. He's a particular little dog. He likes to sleep on the dog bed in the chair under my sweater. But I have to turn the chair so that the back of it faces the door so that he cannot bark at the people walking by. Otherwise, all you'd hear all day is barking. Yippee. So he's over now. He should be relatively quiet unless somebody comes in. And if that happens, I'll have to log off anyway and come back to you because we have customers to take care of here in person. But right now we're going to flip the camera down. And this is nothing very exciting here yet. I'm going to put this little light on. I hope this helps. And then we're going to grab some cups and some gloves. Oh, I put them all the way out of my reach. Okay, this is not a product ever that you want to do with bare hands. The only thing that cleans it off of you is either isopropyl or denatured alcohol, both of which are hard on your skin. Denatured alcohol is toxic, so you really don't want to put it in your skin if you can avoid it. Now we may mix up a couple batches here because I've got a whole bunch of different ideas going on. Now we're using our art resin. We also carry liquid glass. You can use either product for this. I find liquid glass dries harder or cures harder, faster. This will remain a little softer for longer. This cures 100% food safe in 72 hours. So it's always a good one to have to, if you're making something like a plate or a coaster or a little platter. Now this is the hardener. You can see this is the hardener. It says right up there at the top. And then we're going to pour in the resin into a separate cup. And these must be dead even if you're not a good eyeball measurer. And the only reason I'm a good one is because I've been doing it for years and even I screw it up from time to time. Measure exactly. Take a good look, see where we're at. Darn close. A little more. More. And there you go. So the reason, if you need it to be dead even, And your mixing proportions on your epoxy are important. Now, not every epoxy is a 1-to-1 even proportions, but most of them are. And if you have too much hardener and not enough resin, your epoxy will actually start to harden even before it's completely mixed. It'll kind of glob up and do weird things, and then it'll dry. It'll cure up fast, and it'll cure up brittle, and it might even delaminate. If you have too much resin and not enough hardener, you will have a product that never quite hardens. You might have soft, sticky spots. It might just stay soft forever, never get quite firm, never get quite cured, a little gooey. I've done it. I had something that I mixed it badly, and everything came out fine except the stuff that came out of the very last pour that came out of the very bottom of the cup, where I hadn't mixed well, and it's still sticky to this day. Like, I can scrape it off. I can take the top of a wooden dowel and scrape some stuff off of it. So that's what you don't want to have happen. And so here's what we're doing. Okay, so I've got that poured into one container. You can kind of see that it's swirled, but now you have to mix. And most of the containers will tell you at least 2 minutes. What you're really doing is got to get every last bit of this mixed evenly and completely, or again, you will not have appropriate curing. You'll have brittle spots and you'll have soft spots. Do not try to avoid getting bubbles in this. That's part of it. It's just going to be what it was. I've seen people do this. And part of doing this is you're not going to get it mixed well. You need to aggressively mix it. You want it all completely and thoroughly mixed. Now, some of these epoxies, when you mix them, most of them I should say, when you mix them, bubbles will start flying. Bubbles are a good sign. It means you're really well mixed. But do not breathe the bubbles. That's pure epoxy. You don't want that in your lungs, in your sinuses, in your nose. Ew. No, you don't want to do that. So let's get in here. Keep mixing, 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 mixing. Now, if you guys have comments and I miss them, please know I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to mix epoxy. Hey, Kathy Brown, nice to see you, and Joyce, and Campbell, and everybody. I appreciate you all popping in. All right. And everybody asked this. No, you cannot mix this ahead of time. Once this is mixed like this, especially once it's in a pot, this is called pot time. Pot time on most of this stuff is like an hour. Then it starts to harden, solidify. You might find solid chunks in the middle of your thing. You know, like if I left this like this, walked away for an hour and I pulled my stick out, I might find a very solid chunk of hardening epoxy stuck to it in the middle. So definitely, whatever you need, you mix up and use right then and there. It's not going to be there for you in the morning. Well, it'll be there, but it'll be a hard lump. All right, so I've mixed that up pretty well. Give it a little more mix time, just keep going. I like to make sure I'm really well mixed because I just don't want this to cure out badly. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I've got these little paper cups. We're going to pour a bunch of colors. Or we're going to pour some into the cups, I should say, mix a bunch of colors. We'll play with some clears too. We got some fun things that are going to happen. So I'm pouring it all into these little paper cups. suppose I should look and see how much of these cups is actually in the screen, which is most of it. All right, so I've got a little bit of clear left to the side, and we're gonna pull out some colors. So we're going to use our gorgeous colors from art resin, or resin art. First thing I'm gonna do though is create a little cup with some white in it. And of course this thing doesn't want to open. Now the white is not a product I personally carry. I just ordered it from Amazon. The directions on this stuff say, you know, mix it with one part, with, you know, one thing, mix it into the resin and then mix together. I have for 2 years been mixing the color into the whole thing pre-mixed. It's fine. I keep waiting for it to do something I wouldn't be happy about, and it doesn't do anything bad. So let's see, we got this, we got peach seafoam, and let's see what other colors I want to use. Let's go for some seagrass and something a little yellow. So let's turn these upside down so I can see what colors. I've got seafoam, I've got green, I've got peach fuzz, which will come out pinky. Actually, I'm going to switch the peach fuzz, I think, with the wild coral. I want a little bit of something yellowy, so I'm going to go with, I think we're going to go with the butterscotch today. Butterscotch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need one more color. I think we're going to also switch out with the, go for the apple green. It's a little brighter. Let's go with mermaid. And we're just going to make, I actually don't need all those colors because I poured 6 cups and one's already white. So let's stir up the white one first. Now the challenge with white is that it likes to take over. So we're gonna have to be pouring carefully to see how these are gonna play out. It's 1/8 to 1/4 of a teaspoon of resin art dry pigments. This one's mermaid. To 1 ounce of resin or epoxy resins. So I've got a couple ounces in here. There's that one blue. I want a good rich color. I don't want them to be wimpy colors. Ooh, that mermaid's pretty nice and rich. And then we're gonna go for a little seafoam. I like some of these colors. These are bling it colors, which means they've actually got some mica flakes in it. So they're actually a little bit, well, blingier. This seafoam is such a pretty color. I'm just basically taking them, then tossing them back in the bin so I don't knock them over onto the floor and walk through epoxy pigments, because I've done that too. I've got that all mixed up. And then the nice thing is, as I mix one into the other, into the next one, the colors bloom a little bit, meaning that they, the pigments dissolve into the liquid. Now these pigments cannot be used in water-based products. That's not what they're here for. These are for 2-part epoxy. We have similar pigments for water-based products. And they're called our primary elements pigments. Okay, this is apple green. Such a pretty color too. All right, let's go for a little butterscotch in here. Again, this is a bling it color, so it's got a little bit of extra mica in it, which makes it really pretty when it dissolves. And this color is butterscotch. Hi, Desiree. Thank you for the kind words. Day is going along just fine. pretty. That butterscotch is so rich looking. And look how gorgeous that color is. It's just beyond stunning. I love that color. All right, since we have one color left, and I always use the pink, so I'm gonna use the wild coral instead, since it's not one that I normally choose. And the wild coral is another one of the Bling It ones that's got a lot of mica flakes in it, not just the pigments. So these are gonna be kind of sparklier than I had realized, because I wasn't really planning for that. It's just the way it came out. Once this is mixed up, I'll put the Bling It colors together versus the regular art resin pigments. And it just knowing that the Bling Its have that little bit of mica. Okay, so these are the regular pigments here. You can see they're metallic and smooth. And then we get into the Bling Its and you can see that there's a little bit of mica flake in there. That's literally the difference between the two. All right, so let's pour something I haven't poured before. Okay, so I bought this mold. It's a very, very, very detailed flower. These do actually work really nicely in this. You just sort of play with it a little bit. And I have pre-poured or pre-sprayed these with mold release spray. Now, honest to God, when I play with this stuff, I don't always know how it's going to come out. I just sort of play and hope for the best and kind of work things into the mold and make sure every little bit's filled. And then I sort of let them do their thing as they fill up the space. All right, let's get this over here because there's a few spots I missed. A few little ones along this edge. I have no idea what these are going to look like most of the time until I unmold them. And sorry, my other little light just burned out, so oh well. Okay. I have a little candy tray that I was going to do because I thought these were super cute. So you just take a little bit of this, put a little drop of white, maybe a little drop of the darker blue, and a little, I just kind of pile a bunch of colors on in here and have no idea what's going to happen when I pour the mold out. I'm only going to do a few of these little candy shaped ones just because I'm playing with this and, you know, we don't know what it's going to look like. All right, and let's do one that's pink. Do a little pink. Do a little gold. Do a little white. Now the different weights of the pigments in the epoxy, plus once we torch it, it will cause all this stuff to move around a little. So the final result, couldn't tell you what it's going to look like. All right, let's do one with a little sea foam. Let's do one of the swirly ones, they're cute. Little sea foam, little mermaid, a little white. And really, these will come out by the time I'm done. They're going to come out looking like swirled hard candies. It's going to be very cool looking. Not as perfectly swirled, you know, as like the Christmas mints that we all get, the Starburst. I think they're called Starburst mints. You know, the ones that have the swirl. All right, so we're going to let those sit for tonight, and we'll unmold them tomorrow, see how they look. Let us play with one of our other little molds then. This is another brand new one. It's a heart that I brought in to play with. And yeah, I got to turn some things around because my table's not always level. Okay, so let's go with some blue, or some gold, sorry. Thinking blue, pouring gold. And some sea foam. And a little white. And then let's maybe pour some blue in here. Now, I don't have to fill this all the way up because this is originally a soap mold. So I don't need to make these as deep as a bar of soap. And I always get asked, well, what am I going to do with these when I'm done? I can use them on all kinds of things. I can use them for embellishments on dressers. I can use them to make decor embellishments for, say, I'm losing my memory of what I wanted to use it for. Wreaths and stuff like that, Christmas items or spring items or all kinds of stuff. Now this happens to be, I don't think you're going to be able to see it clearly, there's a little Buddha in here. Now I happen to have a love of Buddhas that goes back to when I was an exchange student in Japan. I think I like the premise, I like the idea. I like the image itself. Okay, so I've got my little Buddha guy poured. I think calling him a Buddha guy might not have been the most respectful way to address that, but okay. So now we're going to put in some apple green. Now, if I wanted to keep these layers sharp and delineated, I'd pour it, let it dry for a few hours, pour next color, let it cure up for a couple more hours, and go at it that way. Wait, where's my, this, there's this. Now again, this is ideally for a soap bar, so I'm not going to pour it as deep as the mold is because that's a big chunk of epoxy. And it's not necessarily anything I need to be that big. Now I could also, I've been pouring more carefully, I can go in here, say, we'll do it on a different one, but I could have gone in there with one of my sticks and drawn the pattern back and forth, tried to get a little more like an Italian marbled paint, but you know, not today. That's not where I'm at today. So I just need to make sure this is deep enough to fill all the spots that I need to fill. All right, so that one's done. Let's go put it over to the side. Let's see. Do I want the Mardi Gras mask or do I want this one, which is kind of a moon figure? Well, I'm feeling a little Mardi Gras, so let's go Mardi Gras mask here. Or Carnival, or whatever it is that you prefer. But I'm a New Orleans fan, so to me, I go Mardi Gras. let's go for a little seafoam in here. And again, my whole idea is that these are all going to end up coming out looking like candy. I like that idea. And let's get a little more pink. And a little more seafoam. Okay, we're going to set that to the side. Now, let's do a rose. Now, this never looks like much. This is actually silicone mold. It splits down here, but you put the rubber bands around it to hold it together, and it's actually been very good. I have not had any leaking problems with this one. Now, of course, as I say that, I assume that this will leak like a sieve. Let's pour in this, all of this lovely gold, and then we're gonna fill it up with the blue. And there we go. We're gonna let that sit so it pops out its air bubbles, and then I may have to pour a little more product in there because the bubbles need to rise. And they're big bubbles, so that can take a few minutes. All right, let's pour the last of these colors. And I just made a huge mess because I wasn't paying attention. I am so smart. I bet you're all proud to know me right now. I am just overwhelmingly impressed with me too. I'm a genius. All right, well, I guess I'm pouring some of that in there. And let's pour a little pink in this one. And yeah, that was spectacular on my part, the way I just poured that all over everything. I'm like, why is that all pouring wet? Well, dummy, because it's full of wet epoxy. So don't think that mistakes are impossible on my part, because I just proved that they are clearly not. Okay, so let's pour a little here, pour a little there. Then I have a couple flower molds over here, so I may just scrape the last of that in there because we have one more big mold to do, but we're going to do something a little different with it from the other epoxy that I have left that's clear. I'm going to have a lot of molds to pop tomorrow, which is part of my favorite thing. No exaggeration. I love doing that. I think that's so much fun. Okay, let's put a little green in here. Let's put a little green in there. And let's put a little green in there. Oops, let's not have a mess here. Let's pour a little green in this guy. Okay. Let's take some gold in this. There. Let's make a gold one here. Let's take that. As you can see, I'm just sort of randomly choosing colors, combinations, going, okay, I don't have that one. Didn't make that one before, so I'll make that one, you know, this time. Okay, let's do that one. Okay, that one's done. Just keep going in circles until I use everything up. And we're about done here. I think I've got enough for, you know, one more. 82. I'm just going to empty everything out and make the last ones. Okay, there's that. Last of the white. And then we'll use up the last of this green. Okay, I think we had just enough to fill these up, which was nice. I didn't have one really thin, narrow one, which I have often ended up with. Now, maybe if I move this more carefully, I will make slightly less of a mess with it. Okay, nice big smear of epoxy there. So here's our last one. Hey, shh. Sorry, everybody, the dogs are barking at children, and I can't say that I blame them. So the last little bit that we're gonna do, and we're gonna pour into this mold, instead of adding pigment, we're going to add Tamisay flakes or Shabin. I did do a little research to figure out what the difference between the two was. Tamisay flakes are larger, Shabin is smaller. So this is spring variegated leaf collection. I got this from, where did I get this from? I think I got it from Sep Leaf. And I've used this on furniture and all kinds of stuff, but now I actually want to pour it into pigment or pour it into epoxy and have a really kind of cool metallic reflective thing happening. Now I'm also looking to see if it changes the color of stuff, because one of the things with these oxidized leaves, they've been treated with chemicals and heat, and putting them in solvent or water-based stuff can change it. So it's not quite as vibrant, and it did flatten it out a little bit, but not too badly. So I'm just going to pour this in here. and let it settle into all the crevices. Scraping every little bit out. Now you can do all kinds of stuff. You can make mobiles with this. You can add these to geez, I forgot my words. Wreaths. You can hang them in your trees to be light catchers. You can put them in your garden. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. All right, so the last thing that we have to do is we have to torch all of this. And what the torching does is it raises the bubbles. So my torch has, I got my torch at Home Depot. They're inexpensive. It fills with a can of butane like a regular lighter. And you can push it down like that, and then there is a little button that you can hold instead of holding the heavy trigger one on the back, and it keeps you on for a continuous flaming, and it's a little easier on the hands. So let's pop. And I don't know if this shows on camera, but it basically what happens is the epoxy sizzles. It's kind of cool. It just sizzles. And it pops all those bubbles. It makes this more liquid so the more bubbles can rise to the top, and then you get a much better result. Now we won't be able to unmold these until tomorrow, which is normal. It's what I expected. So I'm just going to kind of go in a circle and torch them a few times. There we go. Now don't hold this for long times in one spot and pour it, blast it right into this stuff. That heating actually speeds up the curing. So, and I've done this. I've held my torch. Let me release this. I've held my torch like this into stuff, just dead straight down in, and I watched the center of it harden and curdle while the rest tried to catch up. It was a mess. Don't do that. All right, pour that again. Come back, check my stuff here. And this also tends to move the epoxy around a little bit, so all those colors will swirl, create little cells as they're drying, do really cool stuff. All right. Now let me scroll back a second, see if I missed any questions. No, we're question free at the moment. So I am going to clean up the mess. I'm going to go home. And usually, I will be very honest, when I pour epoxy, big messy piles of stuff like I have just done, I don't clean any of this up until tomorrow, because all this wet, gooey stuff will be dry tomorrow and I can just peel it off. Whereas if I did it today, I'd be covered in goop. So, just a little friendly sharing from one messy person to another. When you do your epoxy pours, after you're done, I put everything on parchment paper. You could also use silicone paper, and then walk away from it, because I'm not going to try to keep any of these cups. I'm not going to try to keep the plastic, any of it. Tomorrow, I'll just come back. I'll break the spell here. I'll pull these all out of their molds, and we'll be good to go. All right. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with me. I will be back tomorrow with more fun projects. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.